Hello everybody, welcome to Sue's Corner, the Glee fancast where we discuss the problematic aspects of characters and ships, as well as their redeeming qualities. In this episode, we'll be discussing Rachel Berry. Remember, this is coming from our own personal opinions and analysis of the show. You're allowed to disagree with us. That being said, please enjoy. Hello everybody, I'm Carson, and I am one of your hosts for this evening.
I'm Cass, and I fucked your mom last night.
I'm Kimber, and I'm a minor, so you can't insult me.
This episode, we're going to be starting with the one and only Rachel Berry.
Don't tell me not to live, just sit and putter. Life's candy and the sun's a ball of butter.
The protagonist, if you want to call her that, of Glee. You know, the series mainly followed her. She was played by the Lea Michele. Her first episode is in the pilot, and her last episode was Dreams Come True. I think she was the only character who was present through every single episode.
I think she missed like two.
Obviously, there's going to be some opinion thrown into this as well, but most of this is just based off actual canon events that she did. And like I said in the intro, obviously you're free to disagree with us, but, we're just coming at you with this. So I made a poll that I shared on Twitter and Instagram. I think 100-ish people responded to it. And I asked if people liked Rachel just as a character in general. 40.5% said no, they do not like Rachel. 33.3% said they kind of like Rachel, they aren't sure. 23.8% said yes, that they like Rachel. And 2.4% said they just don't care. Which I personally, I see Rachel's appeal, but for the most part, I do not like her for very specific reasons, which we will get into later.
I want to say I'm neutral on Rachel, but at the same time, I've never really gotten her vibe, I guess.
I used to love her, and then I just questioned, why do I like her? And now I'm just kind of like, she's not the worst, but she's also not the best by any means.
So on that poll that I made, I also made space for people to give reasons why they don't like Rachel and reasons why they do like Rachel. So we're going to start with the reasons why people did not like Rachel. I also tallied everything up. The most common thing that people said for reasons why they don't like Rachel is her blatant racism, which is a common thread through a lot of characters in the show. I mean, not a lot, but quite a few characters in the show. The first biggest example that people brought up was in season 2, I believe it was, when she sent Sunshine to a crack house. Sure, it was an inactive crack house, but she still sent her to a crack house because she sang better than her. And not only that, but Rachel spoke in broken English.
I couldn't help but notice you admiring me yesterday in the courtyard. What? Oh, you don't speak English. You like me sing. You like me sing very much. I totally speak English. We need chorus members. People to stand behind me and stare at me with wet, moved eyes while I sing solos. So I encourage you to audition for Glee Club. Glee Club is fun. Swaying in background can be fun.
Thank you.
Okay.
Even the first time I watched that, like, I was young, and I was like, that's not okay.
Yeah, I think it was like 10 or 11 when I was probably like 10 when that episode came out, and I was just like, Rachel, what are you doing there?
And after Sunshine was like, I speak English, she was like, oh, you like me sing. Like, okay.
You're coming into the bathroom and saying, shut up! That's how I feel about that whole situation.
Shut up!
The second example that a lot of people brought up was, I believe it was in season 1, when Mercedes said that she wanted to sing music that was more ethnic, more black, because she is black, and they've been singing a lot of Journey and show tunes, and Mercedes just wanted to sing more of the stuff that she knows, and Rachel cut in saying, this is Glee Club, not Crunk Club, which is problematic for a lot of reasons.
I think there's that, and it's also Rachel just being so conceited and arrogant, thinking like, oh, we just need to sing the songs I want to sing, and I don't really care about anybody but me. So
Well,
it's
if you
kind
think about it, most of Rachel's solos were literally originally sang by white people, so obviously she doesn't want to sing like rap music she probably want to sing like fucking Eminem.
Another point that people brought up a lot was Rachel, in the pilot, it's mentioned that she's in a lot of clubs that she probably should not be in, like the Black Student Union or the Muslim Student Union, which, yes, if you are a white person, even a Jewish white person, she's still a white person, and you are Jewish, not Muslim. I don't know why you'd be joining those advocacy clubs. That would be like a white person leading the Black Lives Matter movement, which, like, yes, I'm glad that you're supporting the movement, but let the actual minorities lead their movement.
That was so fucking dumb. And like, I get it, she wanted to be involved, but it's also like that's not for you. It's not a club for you. It's called the Black Student Union.
How are you going to be a Black Student Union member, yet you don't want to sing Black music in Glee Club? Make it make sense.
Yeah, like that's like saying you're, fine with gay people, but you don't support their lifestyle.
One big point that I think is, I mean, in my view at least, one of the biggest issues with Rachel and racism is when she insisted on wanting the role of Maria, which, West Side Story, it's a very, very important show in terms of Hispanic representation, and Rachel insisted on having the lead role over Santana or Mercedes, Mercedes, an actual person of color, and Santana, an actual, Hispanic person, having the lead role of a Hispanic person. Yet in season 4 or 5, whatever it was, she said that Santana couldn't play Fanny Bryce in Funny Girl because she's not a New York Jew, which Rachel isn't a New York Jew either. She's a Jewish person living in New York.
I think we can all agree that Mercedes should have gotten the role of Maria anyways.
Mm-hmm.
She absolutely killed her audition. But yeah, it's just, and I've seen people say that, because West Side Story was a high school production or whatever, it's going to be casted differently. But it's also like they chose to not cast the person of color for the lead role, at least, and they cast the white girl, and then she goes and she's like, well, you're not a New York Jew, so you can't play this part, when Broadway for years has cast people of color in roles that were originally white.
Especially when the story of the show is reliant on a certain person being a certain race. Like the example I gave before we started was like Mercedes could play Cinderella, but Rachel couldn't play Tiana because Tiana being a person of color is so important to that story. Or same with like Rachel couldn't play Pocahontas because her being Native American is so important to that story and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, if Mercedes wanted to play Cinderella, Cinderella's race doesn't play a part in the story. So she can play that part without taking away anything from the story. If Rachel were to play Tiana, the story wouldn't make sense, and you're also taking away representation from a minority group.
The next point that a lot of people brought up of not liking Rachel, which is also a lot of like Rachel stans argue about this, is that Rachel has done some homophobic things, and not homophobic in the same way that like Dave Karofsky was homophobic in the beginning. And just because Rachel has gay dads does not mean that she can't be homophobic. That means absolutely nothing. As a gay person, that argument means absolutely nothing. You can have gay family members, you can have gay friends, and you can still be homophobic. That argument means absolutely nothing, so don't bring it here. But the biggest point that people brought up was that she treated the gay characters, especially Kurt, like pets or like an accessory to her. And an example of that too is when Kurt was gone, and Elliot was around Rachel instead. Rachel was like, I have a new best gay.
And I have a new best gay.
Yeah, I kind of hate that term. It makes me feel like a pet.
What do you mean it's so funny?
Maybe I was just more focused on this as an actual gay person, but like Rachel did that a lot. She treated the gay characters like pets or like accessories to her a lot, and I don't like it.
It's kind of like in the show, she always kind of had to have her, gay pet. She went from Kurt to Elliot to Blaine to Kurt to Blaine to Kurt to Kurt and Blaine together. Like, it was horrible.
And she hated the lesbian character. She hated Santana's guts. And it's like, she's literally one of those girls that would be like, oh, I love my gay best friend, but I don't want to watch lesbians kiss.
Another point that people brought up was sort of circling back to Santana being the understudy. But the whole Pezberry feud in season 5, Cass, you look like you have something to say.
I'm Team Kurt in that situation. Because, like, okay, I think we all are. Because honestly, if I were to pick a side, though, of who I agreed with more, it would probably be Santana. Especially since Rachel's issue with it wasn't that Santana wanted to, well, it was that she wanted to be the understudy, but her words weren't, oh, hey, like, you should have, like, you know, talked to me first, like, whatever, like, you know, just let me know. It was literally, you're not a New York Jew.
Fanny Bryce is a New York Jew. You playing that role is like me being the Grand Marshal of the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
But if you weren't playing Fanny, if you weren't playing the lead and I came home and said that I auditioned to be the understudy, would you still feel so strongly?
I'm arguing on principle. This is not personal.
Bull crap.
So she automatically made it about Santana's race, and it's like, well, you know, I get it. Like, Santana doesn't really give a shit about Broadway, but it's also like, she wanted a job, she went out, and she got it. Why do you care?
Yeah, like, I understand if, like, Rachel was mad just because Santana didn't talk to her about it first. That's completely understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she was like, I don't want you to be an understudy at all. I hate you. Get out of my house.
She literally, like, was like, we were never friends. And then she tore up the picture. It's like, why are you making this so personal? It doesn't have anything to do with you.
You are awful, and that is never going to change.
And then she slapped Santana. She slapped Santana for literally just saying, like, you know, like, you're being a bitch. Like, that's all she was saying was, like, stop overreacting. And then she's like, you need to get out or whatever.
This is my big break, and she is poisoning it.
Poison.
Even if she never went out on that stage, this would be a very important job for her. And I'm a little disappointed you can't find the generosity in your heart to see that.
You know what? If you think that she is just some babe in the woods who is perfectly fine with living off of the scraps off of my star sandwich, well, then you are naive and willfully ignorant. She would kill for this part.
Oh yes, she has been awful to us before, but I believe her now.
It's like, please be quiet.
If I was Kurt, I would have just kicked them both out.
Oh, another point to add is that when Rachel went to go get her candle and she, like, basically called Santana a whore.
Yeah.
Because she had her, what, like, stripper panties or something? And I'm like, girl, what does that have to do with anything? Just grab your damn candle and go.
Biggest point as well that people brought up was that she was a spoiled brat and a solo hog, which I think everyone can agree. Rachel had an unnecessary amount of solos. And even in the pilot, she stormed out. Which she was being ableist, first of all, because she said, why are we giving the solo and sit down, you're rocking a boat to some dude in a wheelchair, which Artie was probably, like, happy to have a solo and be able to sing, because that's what they were there to do. And since Rachel didn't get the lead, she immediately stormed out, and Rachel storms out a lot whenever she doesn't get her way. She just leaves. She leaves.
Rachel is just, I don't know, her character is very greedy and self-centered, and that's the main thing that I never really liked about her, is because she's just so self-consumed, where the only thing she thinks about are things that will benefit herself. And even then, she doesn't even really think, like quitting NIADA and then quitting the Broadway show she was in and then quitting her TV show. Like, she just, all she does is quit. So she's never really getting anywhere that she needs to go.
For someone so ambitious, she really just does not commit. Rachel got to one place and she was doing good, and then she quit NIADA for Funny Girl, then she quit Funny Girl for her show, and then she went to the Glee Club, which, thank the Lord, she committed to. And then she went back to NIADA and then did Broadway, which at that point she was committing because she stayed at NIADA and all that. But it's like she never stuck to anything, and she wanted to just kind of be handed stuff, and she never wanted to actually, like, do it, you know, commit to something and then go on to bigger things. She always wanted to just be the big thing, but without doing anything else to get to that point.
You know, she worked so hard, and she had to beg multiple times to get into NIADA. You know, she choked on her original audition.
Please, you have to believe me. You just have to please just give me one more chance, please.
And she kept, you know, calling Carmen, asking for another chance. And it wasn't until Tina finally got her another chance that she got into NIADA. She was in NIADA for like a semester and a half. And then she gets this Broadway offer, and she immediately quits NIADA, you know, calls Kurt, you know, like a pussy for staying in NIADA and wanting to actually stay in school and not, you know, quitting like her, whatever. And then she's only on Broadway for like a month or two before she gets this TV offer, and she immediately quits Broadway. And not to mention, you know, Fanny Bryce was like her dream role since she was a baby. And like, if I got my dream role that I'd wanted since I was a baby, I wouldn't quit like out of nowhere for a TV show. I'd just been like, like hold that TV show idea for another year or two until the show is done and then go. But no, Rachel quit immediately to be on TV. And then it ultimately flopped because no one knows who Rachel is. Obviously, she was only on Broadway for like a month. No one's going to know who you are, so no one's going to care about your show.
And she didn't listen to the guy who told her that because he was like, no, stick with the show. Like, you can do this for a long time. This is your dream role. Like, stick with it. Then she's like, you know what? No, I want to be a TV star now, apparently. After all this arguing and fighting with Santana, getting Santana to quit to being her understudy, to then be like, well, I don't really care about the role anymore, so I'm going to go.
A lot of people said that she didn't really support many of her friends, especially Kurt, and two examples of that. One of them was when Kurt was playing Peter Pan in the old folks home production of Peter Pan. Something he was passionate about. Obviously, he just wanted to, be on stage. Who cares if it's with a bunch of old people? I mean, these are like retired performers, so it's like the legends of Broadway. He's performing.
Cute old people, though. They were cute old people.
Rachel was like, well, you're not famous enough for, my stuff that I have going on, so I'm not inviting you to my stuff, and I'm not going to go to your stuff because you're just not that famous, and I don't really care enough. And the other example that a lot of people brought up was in season 3, she ran for class president, even though she knew very well that Kurt needed class president to be able to get into NYADA. Like, she had all these extracurriculars, her Black Student Union, and Kurt had nothing aside from Glee Club and a Cheerios competition. So he needed the presidency to win. And so, Rachel ran against him anyways. And finally she dropped out, but she cost Kurt the win because she stuffed the ballots, even though Kurt told her not to. And that made him lose.
It's like we said earlier, she again, with her not committing, she jumps from friend to friend. And it's like when they were doing the dodgeball.
I really miss you, Kurt. And I really want to be your friend again.
Well, maybe you should have thought of that before you walked all over me and your borderline sociopath that climbed to the top.
And, you took the spotlight because, you wanted to get ahead. And she did that, like, all the time. But, like, no, Rachel always did that. And it's like we were talking about earlier, with the whole Sebastian having the child porn of Finn. Mm-hmm. And how, she was like, I'm still going to sing even if, these embarrassing images of you get released.
Yeah, that was something that people brought up as well, Sebastian was like, hey, if Rachel performs, I'm going to spread these pornographic images of Finn all over the internet, which can never be deleted. And Finn was like, oh, so you're obviously not going to perform, right? And Rachel was just, no, I'm still performing. I still want to perform. Like, that's so messed up.
Or child porn. Finn was 17. It's child porn.
Yeah. Another point that people brought up, which I always forget about, was in season 4, she asked Brody to move in without consulting Kurt first. And, Kurt pays half the rent. Obviously, he gets a say in who moves in and who doesn't. So Rachel just inviting some dude that Kurt barely knows to live with them. If I was in Kurt's place and, like, my roommate brought back a random guy and said, hey, he's moving in, I would be very upset and very concerned, especially if the guy, like Brody, walked around naked.
Ass on one of my vintage flea market chairs.
I would be so upset.
In the way that he, like, moved the cereal box too to hide his junk.
Yeah, if I was Kurt, I would have been like, if you're moving in, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're paying rent, you're doing all of this. You're not going to be here if none of that's going to happen.
Walk around naked, that's for sure.
I'm glad you're comfortable with your body, but I don't need to see it. Mm-hmm. The last thing is Rachel gave Finn a list of presents that she wanted him to get for her on Christmas, which not only is she Jewish and doesn't celebrate Christmas, but Finn is 17. He works at his stepfather's tire shop. How do you expect him to buy you so many things?
Like, she was asking for such expensive stuff too. Like, even like if I was making money, I still would like not buy somebody that expensive of stuff. If like, no, it's about the thought. So if you're going to be like, you have to get me this stuff on this list, it's really not a thought. It's like, oh, well, you're making me feel obligated. So I'm going to get you this stuff. And then he did, out of obligation. He got her the earrings.
Okay, so there were significantly more negatives than there were positives. That's just what I got from the polls. The thing that the most people said was that she's very talented, which, I mean, she is talented, but Cass, I already know you're going to talk. Go talk.
She is talented in the sense that she can really sing show tunes, but I was thinking about this and I was talking to my mom about it, and it's like, can she sing other genres? Because most of like the rock solo she has had, like Go Your Own Way, didn't like that. It's just she's very good at show tunes. Like, you know, I like, you know, For Good, Defying Gravity. I like basically everything she sang. Funny Girl, like My Man is one of my favorite solos on the show. But past that, she doesn't have the range of genres. Like Mercedes, she can sing everything. Literally everything. Santana, while I didn't like her version of Don't Rain on My Parade, I think she can sing show tunes. Like, they didn't really give her a whole lot. So, I mean, you know, but like Rachel is just, she has a nice voice for what, you know, she's good at, which is show tunes. It's just, they shouldn't have, if they were going to give her so many solos, they shouldn't have given her like pop or rock or like even country. Like, calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
Okay, and when she sings those like other genres, they like slow it down for her. Like,
I wanna hold them like they do in Texas, please.
it's horrible. And
why are you slowing down Poker Face?
I know.
The second thing that people brought up, which I agree with this one. I mean, it's passive aggressive a little bit, but this is one point that I do agree with that is a positive for Rachel, is that most of the time she did eventually come around and support her friends. Like the example with Kurt and Peter Pan, we keep going back to that one. But, you know, at first she was like, you know, I can't come support you. You're not famous enough. But in the end, you know, she showed up and she did support him in the end, which, like, I'm glad she did show up and support him. But the way that she did it, like, she was so rude to him about it in the beginning. So either she, like, was always going to come around and she just was being a jerk for no reason, or she really wasn't going to come and it took, like, Blaine and Sam or whatever saying, like, hey, this is really important to Kurt. You should come and be an actual good friend. And she decides to do it. Like, so it's good that she does come around, but it's always, like, a struggle for her to get there. I know this is supposed to be positive and I'm making it a negative, but like
it is kind of one of those things where it's like you can see the good in it, where she, you know, she does eventually do good. So she does kind of learn in that moment, like that what she's doing is wrong, but she always starts off by doing something bad, or she learns in that episode, like, oh, like I shouldn't be acting this way.
I feel like she's a good friend when it benefits her. Like, if she does something bad, she has to make up for it. Or if it's something like, oh, this could give her positive publicity, whether it's with friends or whether it's with the media. Like, she's always, like, thinking about herself no matter what. It's,
well,
I don't know.
Thing with, you know, his performance, he still helped her out afterward. Yeah. She does do good, and yes, she does eventually learn. I mean, she was better in season 6, but it's also kind of like, is it really that good if she goes and totally undoes what she previously did that was good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're just going to make all these positives into negatives. So one way or another.
I used to love her. So, you know, this is, you know, coming from somebody who, like, used to, like, idolize her. And it's just kind of like, you rewatch the show and you kind of realize, you're like, wait, is she a good person?
She was very ambitious. It just turned into something that was bad. Like, in the beginning of the show, like, I really, like, admire her actual ambition. Like, it said that, you know, she woke up really early every morning. She worked out and she, like, practiced. And that, like, I really, really admire that level of ambition. But then around, like, season 4, it just turned into something that was so, like, toxic. Like, it was a toxic ambition. Because it meant, like, you know, like, pushing Kurt down or pushing other people out of the way so that she could get to the top, like Santana. And it just turned into something that wasn't that great.
she, you know, in season 1, like, I really did admire her ambition in season 1. Like, she really was about, you know, like, getting what needed to be done, and, you know, she was very focused on her dreams, and she was committed to doing that stuff. That's when she was committed in season 1. And then the first episode of season 2, where she's, like, sending Sunshine to a crack house. And it's like, was that necessary? You can be a star and have other people be stars around you.
In season, I think it was season 2. Yeah, it was season 2. She told the girls, like, hey, let's get our boyfriends to defend Kurt from the bullies. First of all, Kurt had been bullied from day 1, and some of your boyfriends, like, you know, Finn, Puck, I mean, Mike was on the football team, but I don't think he did anything. But they all still were in the group that were bullying Kurt, and they only stopped when they joined the Glee Club. And even then, like, yeah, it's a good thought of her to be like, oh, let's get the boys to defend Kurt. First of all, the boys should have been doing that on their own regardless, if Kurt's their friend and, like, Finn's brother. Like, he should have been doing that regardless. And second of all, why couldn't Rachel have, like, gotten the girls together and said, like, hey, we can, like, confront Karofsky too? Like, why does it have to be, oh, let's get the boys to do it? Like, I get that it came from, like, a good place, and she wanted, like, to defend Kurt, but this is also, like, in the second season, you had an entire other season where you watched him get bullied and you did nothing. Like, nothing at all.
She didn't care, like, beforehand. Like you said, Carson, he was getting bullied in season 1. Like, this wasn't something new. I mean, it got worse in season 2, obviously, like, we saw that. But he was always getting bullied, and they didn't do anything about it when they became friends in season 1. So why is it because she wanted him? Because I think deep down, all of them knew that Kurt was going to leave, or he was going to do something, because, you know, you're getting bullied. Your first thought is, hey, you know, I really need to get out of here. But they all kind of suspected that he was going to leave. And so her thought could have been, well, he's going to leave and we don't want him to go because he needs to stay in Glee Club. So we have enough people so that I can be the star. So let's get the boys to beat up Karofsky. And then Finn didn't even do it. Sam was the one who did it, which go Sam. But it's like and this isn't like solely Rachel, because season 2 with Kurt and all that, I was really disappointed because they were all his friends. And yes, he was getting bullied in season 1, obviously, and they didn't do anything then. But they were, like, really good friends in season 2. Like, that's when they kind of, like, started, like, really bonding. And none of them did anything about it until he left. Like, after that, they were like, oh, Karofsky, you need to apologize, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't care about him before then. So it's like, you know.
She tried to keep the peace between the Glee Club, which, yes, it's good that she's trying to keep the peace. You know, she didn't want Quinn to tell on Shelby and Puck with their little affair. In that moment, I feel like she did really care about, like, Shelby and Beth, like, you know, the well-being of Beth. But at the same time, you have to wonder if there was an ulterior motive to it, where she knew that, like, if, you know, Shelby and Puck got caught, like, Puck would be probably, like, kicked out of the school and Shelby would be fired or something like that. You know, if Puck was kicked out, they wouldn't have enough people to compete and stuff like that. So it's always, like, with her, it's always, like, is there an ulterior motive to it? Yeah. And same with, like, people brought this up too, was in duets, she let Sam and Quinn win the duets competition, which was nice, sure, but the ulterior motive was she wanted Sam to stay in the club. She didn't want Sam to leave the club. So there's always an ulterior motive to her actions.
Sam could have won with Kurt, though. That's the whole thing that I don't understand.
Yeah, and it was like, Finn was like, but Sam's gonna get, you know, bullied and slushied if he sings with Kurt.
Not bullied. He was already getting bullied.
And Sam got slushied before he even, like, sang with anyone, so...
Yeah, and so it's like, you could have made Sam win singing with Kurt. Why did you just want to pair him up with the white girl? Mm-hmm. What heterosexual motive do you have? Mm-hmm. It's like, you just made Kurt more isolated. Like, you just made him feel more like shit. He was already feeling bad because of all the bullying, and then it's like, oh, you know, you're gonna be by yourself.
That is it for our positives. I think we managed to turn every single one of them negative. So the Rachel stans listening, I'm sorry. But reevaluate your fave just a little bit.
You can love her all you want, but like this is like solely opinion. And again, this is coming from somebody who used to love her. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before we leave, I know Cass had one last thing that she wanted to touch on concerning Rachel's solos. So Cass, go ahead, take it away.
So I here have a list of every single Rachel solo. And let's just discuss the ones that she really shouldn't have been singing. First, Take a Bow. Taking Chances, I've seen some people talk about this one. I actually didn't mind it. I'm kind of neutral on it. I really just don't care. Like, I've seen some people be like, she shouldn't have been singing this, like, whatever. But it's like, I don't have an opinion on that one. Crush. Context, too. The context. She's sitting in the back of her teacher's car singing Crush. Gives You Hell. I don't mind, but it should have been a Blaine solo. Baby One More Time.
Absolutely
Oh
not.
my god.
The only exception.
No. I'm sorry. I can't stand her version of that song. Like, I love that song. Just the original version of it.
Papa, Can You Hear Me? It wasn't bad. It's just, why are you singing that to Bert? Carson, you are allowed to go ham on this one. Don't Cry For Me, Argentina.
Kurt came to Rachel saying, hey, I need a solo so I can like audition to get a solo at competition with the Warblers. And she could have just said, hey, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. It's a good one. Let me hear you practice. And it could have cut between like Kurt practicing with Rachel in the auditorium to Kurt actually performing it. But no, Kurt can't have anything by himself. Rachel has to also sing it. Like, it's not like you already have a bajillion solos and Kurt had like 3 at this point. I'm a Kurt stan, and I barely even like Kurt's version of it. What makes you think Rachel also singing was necessary? Because it's not.
Firework.
Bad.
So bad. Carson, you're gonna insert a little clip of her and singing the worst part of that song.
Baby, you're a firework.
When she starts, baby, you're a firework, and she like her voice cracks.
Come and show 'em what you're worth.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this. Go your own way.
Bad.
It's so bad. Like, she did not deserve that song.
Let me explain why to me though. I am a big Fleetwood Mac stan. Like, that's one of my favorite bands. I grew up listening to them.
Absolutely.
She should not be singing that song.
No.
Like, well, I'm gonna sing it like as a woman or whatever. She still didn't sing it good though. Like, girl, stop singing rock. Next one, My Man. I love this one. So, and Kurt being like, she's so talented, and then he's like standing up and clapping, and I'm like, you're being so supportive.
Good.
She's really good.
How Deep Is Your Love?
Oh my god.
Not that deep.
Cry.
When I hear cry, I just think of the Dance Moms.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Oops, I Did It Again.
No.
Her worst solo.
Bad.
I hope you don't do it again.
The fact that Cassandra was literally like, you suck. Oh, okay. Being Good Isn't Good Enough. I know that she tried to say that beat Being Alive.
No.
Bring Him Home.
Kurt's solo version was better.
Is the reason Kurt beat her. To Love You More. Okay. Yesterday.
Don't care.
Carson, that's not a valid opinion.
I never listen to Rachel's solos because I don't care.
Okay, this is an unpopular opinion again, but Rachel singing any Beatles, like Hard Day's Night and Get Back. Girl, stop.
No, I think her voice just doesn't suit those songs.
I didn't even like Kurt and Get Back. That was like my least favorite duet of theirs. It just they made him sing too high in that song.
Chris can hit deep notes.
He can hit a deep note, and they're making him go like, oh yeah.
Him and Give Up the Funk. The beginning is his natural voice.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like, people thought it was like auto-tune. He's like, nope, it was me.
Like, it has like a metallic effect to it, but like the deepness is all him.
There was a song when I was doing "To the Roof Off," and no one believed it was me. Like, I got so many messages saying that was computerized.
Okay, this is about Rachel, not Kurt. God. Okay. Love Fool, and I discussed this earlier. should have been a Quinn solo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that would have been pretty.
Rachel's wasn't bad. It just, I really just wanted Quinn to sing it. Pumpin' Blood.
Oh.
Why was Rachel walking in like, I'm the queen of the gay club. Yes, all of the queers love me. Like, what the fuck? Kurt was probably like, I'm sick of you hetero bitches. I just want to go to a gay club with my fiance. And Rachel's like, we'll all go and I'll be the greatest star. Don't like it.
Wake Me Up. I don't like it.
Go back to sleep.
Uninvited.
I wish she would stay uninvited, like to everything.
Okay, Let It Go.
No.
I don't care that your mom is Idina Menzel. No.
Okay, Promises.
Barely remember it.
Give an actual opinion.
How does it
Barely
go?
remember it.
I'll play it a little bit. Carson can just insert a clip. Hold on.
Promises, I'm all through with.
No. I don't like it.
Last one, my personal favorite and the only Rachel solo I really listened to. This Time.
I really liked this time. It made me cry when I first heard it. I loved it.
Aaron chose her to sing it.
Yeah.
He wrote the song for her.
I wonder if he had a choice.
No.
So yeah, I think we have determined, doesn't mean Rachel stans will agree, but we have determined that like most of Rachel's solos are either not good or Carson just doesn't remember any of them. Really, Carson?
Someone's roasting me right now. This is not nice.
It's because you suck.
No, it's not.
We're gonna keep this bit in. I can promise that I will literally be giving other characters the same amount of shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Just wait for the Puck episode.
so that concludes this episode. I can assure you that Rachel is not the only person we're going to be giving shit to. Wait for the Puck episode, wait for the Santana episode. I already know the Santana one is going to be very controversial, but Santana definitely has way more positive sides than Rachel does. But again, this is just our personal opinion. You know, we're talking about our own views on the stuff that happened in canon, sharing it with you guys. Obviously, you're allowed to disagree with us. You know, we all come from different backgrounds. We're all going to have different views on these things, but this is just how we feel about Rachel. The next episode, I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about Finn Hudson and maybe another character. So that'll be fun. But I think that's it, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace out.